Hello.
Hey. Can you hear me?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Shut. Hey.
Oh,
Trying to figure something new out.
well, something new is coming. I'm trying to find some glasses I can see out of.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you're echoing real bad.
Hey. Holy.
Oh, man.
Is that better?
Can you hear me now? Okay. Dang, it's still doing that.
I would love some, but yeah, I won't be finished for a while.
Turn this down. Or I have to talk lower.
Huh?
If I talk lower.
It's got a little bit of an echo.
Uh-huh.
It's not as much as it was, though.
Trying to use this little speaker.
Okay. It's like echoing. Is it because it's too close to it?
I'm just gonna give up.
What if you step back and do it? The speaker on you?
It's because you can hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I think it's because this thing has a speaker but not a microphone. So I've got my phone so I can hear you, and then this thing, Mama sent it to me, and it's good for making a video, but it's not, it doesn't, I have no way to hear. And once I plug it into my computer, then I can't hear you guys.
Oh, really?
So then I had my phone so I could hear, but then that makes it echo.
Oh, wow.
So
Well, it won't Bluetooth? Will it Bluetooth too?
it's this, I don't know. Anyway,
Technology. Maybe somebody's outside. Heck yeah.
hey,
Hey,
I need to be outside too.
me too, but it's cold. It's not warm enough outside.
It's warm here.
it's real nice out here today.
How's it going?
It's going good. was feeling tired today, which is not my normal for like a really sunny day, especially a Friday too. But I was feeling tired. The days are different. It's also that time of the month too, which
Makes you
sorry,
tired.
too much information, but that does a lot. It makes me feel tired. Hey, baby.
Hey. Hey, I know. I know.
All right, that's like that.
I'm gonna go run to the bathroom while we're waiting.
No. Ow.
That's what I did this morning.
What?
My wonderful cat brought a baby blue jay in about 10:30 last night.
Oh,
So
no.
I was like, oh my God, I don't have time to do this. I don't even know how to do it. And so I went out to try to find where the bird's mother might be close to the house because one of the nests got blown out the other day and I figured that's what it was. And so I decided not to nail the nest back up in the tree like it said on the internet. I called somebody. I fed it. I went and dug some worms for it.
Oh, uh-huh. Did you chew them up?
No, I missed them up.
I was joking.
And then I had a little dropper, and I just stuck it on my finger and stuck it down in his mouth, and he just went, and then he perked up real big. He was so lethargic up until about 6:30 this morning, and as soon as I fed him, he was ready to eat every 5 minutes.
Oh,
So
man.
I found a
So,
place to
did you release it?
I found a place to take. He was a nestling. He barely had any feathers on him.
Oh, God.
He was a cutie, but
Hey there.
hi.
Hey, I muted myself. How are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
I am fine.
Good. Good to
Uh,
hear.
There was a couple of them I didn't mess up.
Hey.
Oh. I'm not a very good video.
How are you, Ashley?
All right, how about y'all?
Doing good. It's like sleeting or something right now outside.
Oh, wow. You got snow on the ground too?
Just started. No, the snow has melted, but we've had a little hail and sleet today.
Oh, y'all have
Supposed
some
to
yuck
start
things.
warming up next week. It's supposed to be like 60 something degrees.
Hi.
Hey. Oh, Ashley, you have another dog?
Oh yeah, I have two.
Uh-huh.
I put Peppernickel in the back with Jonathan because she's a puppy and she will be all over the mat. Bruiser usually just wants to sleep on the couch and be near, but not. He doesn't get in the way. Right now, he's really asking for some attention. This is Bruiser, our little old man.
Hey.
Oh.
Aw.
He's a good boy.
It's crazy. Hey, Anita.
Hey, how's everybody?
Doing good.
Good. The evening got away from me. Oh my God, I'm late.
Oh, I need the camera. Hold on.
I think I'm
Hopefully
ready though.
mosquitoes won't be a big deal.
Mosquitoes?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm by the water too, so that doesn't help. It's getting a little rainy here. It's getting a little darker outside.
Like snowing and it's sunny outside right now.
Oh my
It's weird.
goodness.
It's like it's just like it's not like a big snow. It's just like, 1 minute snowstorm.
Just like a little glitz outside.
Yeah.
You need to leave them over again.
Oh, that was Liz. She just left and I don't think her video is working. And then let's see. Okay. It's time. Who are we missing? Just Liz and Caitlin?
Joanne?
Also,
and
I think she
wait
dropped.
up. Oh, Joanne dropped. Well, she'll be back. Something must have happened with her internet. I've been trying to get that our video of the other asanas up, but it's so long that it's like I cannot keep internet long enough for it to completely upload.
No.
So I called my internet service provider, and it's like my upload speed is 10. So I don't know. Anyways, I'm working on it, y'all. Eventually. Oh, there y'all are. Eventually I'll get it up. Maybe I have to go sit outside the library or something.
Oh, no.
They're not open. I don't know. I'll figure it out. How's everybody doing? Hey, Liz. Hey, Caitlin.
I'm enjoying the weather. It's been really nice today.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
jealous.
Here too.
It has been
Yeah,
nice.
I'd be miserable if I was up there with you guys where it's snowing. I'm not about it.
It's not snowing. Well, I guess you can't see outside, but just like a 2-second snowing.
Not for me.
Weird mountain storm.
Mm-mm.
Are you a summer girl, Liz?
I am very much a summer girl. Like I don't do the cold. I don't like it at
Me
all.
too.
Like I just
I'm
want to be
the same
outside where it's sunny and warm.
It's a different kind
That's
of
really
cold in Louisiana, but it's
Yeah,
still
I believe it.
cold.
And it's cold with no color. In Colorado, you get like cold with this
Yeah.
beautiful white, and so it kind of gives it
Glitter,
some grace
white
a little
glitter.
bit. But being freezing.
I'm watching my yoga. Doing my yoga.
How about everybody's daily ritual? Success? Failure?
I
I got the morning. The morning's still going good. It's the night.
I'm honestly
Very-
not good at night either. It's like lucky I brush my teeth because
Yeah.
once it gets dark, I'm just like, I can't do anything.
Done. Agrees.
I've stuck to the night, not every day. I think I've missed like 1 or 2 nights, but the times that I have done the night routine, I have felt a tremendous difference. Like
I'm doing
just
it.
in my ability to go to sleep. You're doing it.
Sure.
I'm gonna do it now.
it's I feel like it's just a different energy level, like I feel the presence more, if that makes sense. Like I feel like it's easier to get present, but I don't know why it's harder to do that. Sometimes, the things that are good for us are harder to do for some reason. It's like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
especially,
Tell me again what you're doing at night.
So what I've been doing is lighting a candle and
Well,
then
that's
going
good because that's like
upstairs
something definite.
and doing like a simple breathing meditation, like taking, I'm not even, yeah, that's been good, is that there's like a mild herniation in one of my thoracic discs, which I hate the idea of anything
Wait. You're kind of
happening.
like, I can't understand you.
Yeah, I
You're
can't.
cutting in
Your
and out
audio is off.
what you were talking about.
Oh
And
goodness.
You're
I
breaking
really want
up
to hear what you were saying.
Let me try. Okay, let me see.
because it sounds good. I got the light and the candle part.
Like,
Okay,
good
can you hear me
idea.
now?
I can do that, but will I?
My internet connection may be messed up. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
A little bit better? Shucks. Okay, well, maybe I'll tell you guys in a little bit whenever my internet connection gets better.
Can you tell a
Let's see.
difference the next morning after doing, your stuff at night?
Definitely.
Okay,
Like,
that's what I
feel-
want.
And that's what's hard to remember in the moment, right?
Yeah.
It's like you put off a present moment, like instant gratification, like, oh, I just want to go to bed, but it's kind of like a
Yeah.
sacrifice to, it's like, okay, I'm gonna light this candle, I'm gonna breathe here, then I'm gonna do this stretch that I know I need to do. But I definitely noticed that it gives me just a more intentional sleep, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Tell us what
Can
you
you
were
guys hear
saying.
me
We
now?
can hear you. We can hear you.
We
better.
can hear you.
So you do some
Okay.
breathing?
So I sit in this exact spot right here, and then I've been just crossing my legs and taking, like, I don't time it or anything, just taking like 5 deep breaths, or really just breathing until I feel like I've been going into this state where it's, okay, this sounds weird, and I guess it's weird kind of talking about it publicly, but I feel like I go into the state where I'm not quite asleep, and
Yeah.
it's almost like yoga nidra a little bit, like that feeling that you get where you're not quite asleep, but you just feel like you are in everything, if that makes sense. Like, it's complete presence. That's what I feel. And then since you're going to sleep and you're not doing anything after, I feel like you're much more likely to get to that point,
Yeah.
because it's like, what do you have to worry about? You don't have anything to do through the day, so your mind's less occupied, and you're like, my only obligation for the next few hours is to sleep. And I feel like that just puts you in that state of presence so much easier, but it's so freaking hard to stick to. I don't know why. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Simple breathing meditation, lighting a candle, and then taking that bolster and putting it in the spot on my thoracic spine, which apparently has a herniation. So I've been trying to kind of breathe into that area. And it's also around the heart chakra, which is, I think, interesting. But yeah, so it's been fun.
That's awesome.
That's what you found out from your MRI?
Yes, I guess I haven't. Yeah, that was Monday.
Uh-huh.
So I got an MRI Monday, got the results, and there's a slight herniation of the T4, T5. And I've been experiencing like a rhomboid issue for, Courtney remembers, 2 years ago. I had a slight, I don't know, just a constant tension in my upper back. And then I still continued weightlifting and whatnot, like hundreds of pounds on my back like an idiot, I guess. But I don't know. I don't think it was like one instance that it happened. I think it's over a long period of time. And people have disc herniations, whether they realize it or not, actually. A lot of people tend to have herniation, but you don't experience any symptoms or causes. But something that I've been doing, whether it be in my movement patterns, I was telling Courtney about this, or whether it be in my body mechanics or posture, that it's now I'm starting to see some of the things that it's going to cause, like the rhomboid tightness. So
I would
yeah, that night routine has also given me more of it, or that feeling like that I get.
Now that you know
Yeah,
that
like
that's what it is, I would lay on my belly with that bolster on this front side. I also like do it both ways.
I did that this morning as well.
Okay.
So I feel like because I can't really tell if like I need to do both, like get some extension, but also have some flexion too. So that felt good. But yeah, I hate talking about body pain, honestly, because it makes me draw more attention to it. It just reminds you of your mortality. But then it also reminds you, like, hey, you're not your body, you know, and the end of it all, you're not, this is just a vessel, you know. But body pain makes you feel a little like
out of control.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think I identify with feeling like invincible sometimes.
Yes.
And that's also a product of just the phase of life I'm in. Like I felt really ambitious, and so
mind over matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. All right. I'm done talking about my body pain.
Cool. Anybody else have any thoughts on their daily ritual?
I've been drinking my water.
Yeah. Who else said something, Liz?
No, just mornings are hard. Like I've been trying to do like a little bit of a movement in the mornings, and it's not easy at all for me. It's a struggle. But
awesome. When drinking the water, it's a good one.
I had to buy that gallon of water, which tells me like what time is it and where I should be.
Gotta do what you gotta do. What about thoughts about what we did last weekend? Any thoughts, things you noticed, questions that you had, things that you experienced practicing after our last weekend?
I had some major releasing last weekend.
Oh, you did?
And very sore in my shoulders, in places I've never been sore before. So obviously I was putting the right movement in them.
Cool.
But it didn't bother my shoulders like it usually does.
Oh, that's good.
It's not bothering me. So that helped a lot. Actually, I think it helped strengthen a little bit. Yep.
I definitely felt more engaged just in the personal practices. I think I texted you that, Courtney. I was like, those cues and that energetic work, like because what we're doing essentially is bringing more awareness to the energetic body. And I think that's what we have a hard time connecting to. And that's what helps us connect to like the grand scheme, like the bigger aspect of life. And so I've definitely felt that after this past weekend. Like it's like we did so much physical work. Like my body was sore. My body was like tired, but it was like an empowered tired, you know, it kind of empowered the week. So definitely liked it, the cues and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, I was doing yoga 1 or 2 nights, I think, by myself. And I definitely, for like almost the first time, like kind of felt more the energy and the engagement, like kind of rooting from the ground. And I mean, it made my practice a little bit more difficult because I was just like so hardly thinking about all that stuff we went through, right? So, but I was focusing on that, and definitely at some moments I felt the energy bigger and felt good about it. That like I was like, yeah, this makes sense.
Cool.
I was talking to Liz about it earlier this week. It was like the first time Warrior 1 and Warrior 2 didn't feel awkward. Like I feel like I got it.
Yeah.
Like that rotational like up in the thigh as opposed to just like moving my knee to my toe, where I feel like I was putting more like maybe twerk or something on my knee, or make my knee go somewhere. But when I rotated from the thigh, like it just came naturally. My knee was in the right spot, and that was cool.
Yeah, cool. I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, anybody else? Things that you think that made a big impact, or like a little like, oh, something new to work with?
For me, into their components. really helps.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Good. So then you can see how they're all kind of, then you can put it together. It's kind of like cooking. I always think about
Yeah.
it. The pose is like cooking because they're like, okay, we have a little shoulder opening and then we have a little flexion and then we have a little of this and then we put them all together. And I like that because you can, then when you make classes, you can kind of like deconstruct the yoga pose, right? And take the little pieces and put it in the sequence. And then you can, voila, this pose, the full salad reconstructed. You know, so
It's like, yo, what we having tonight for dinner? But never, it's like a different type. It's like food for your soul.
yeah. So that's funny.
Good.
Yeah. Cool. Has anybody heard of the word entrainment?
Yes. I've heard of it.
And it's kind of a word we don't use that much, but what about in the context of yoga? Anybody heard of it in the context of yoga? Entrainment? So entrainment is when when everything, like, say if we're talking in the context of yoga, where everything is brought together into the natural rhythm, and so that there's not like your breath is going at this one rhythm and then your movement is going at another rhythm and then your nervous system is kind of going at this other rhythm. It's the process of trying to connect all of them together and get them moving at the exact same pace. So we're kind of doing that when we're doing the sun salutations, right? And so we're going to go right on into our back bending poses, but of course we can't just back bend without warming up. So we're going to do a little bit of a warm up practice of the moon salutes, but we're going to practice it in this method of entrainment. You know, you can do yoga poses. We're learning the yoga poses, and we're going to talk about this more when we're sequencing. But you can do yoga poses in an active way, or you can do yoga poses in a passive way. And so this way of doing it, that of entrainment, is kind of like melding those together. It's an active form. We're moving, but you're trying to be really still. And so the breath and the movement, they link together really precisely, with the idea being that you're bringing that nervous system into that same rhythm and your mind, in, you know, which are really, really closely related, into that same smooth rhythm. So I want us to do 5 rounds of the of the moon salutes, and you're gonna do them on your own, and you're doing them on your own because I want you to focus on this sensation of really connecting everything together. And what does it feel like? Can I feel the difference when I'm really connecting breath and movement, but with also this, you know, intention of also linking the mind and the nervous system into that same rhythm. So everything's going at the same rhythm. And what does that feel like? So 5 rounds of the moon salutes going, and your rhythm is different. So we can't do it together, right? You've got to go with your own rhythm. So that's why we're doing it separately. But 5 rounds where we're really trying to focus on this entrainment method of practice. Any questions? Okay, cool. So let's do that, and then we're going to do a few other warm-ups.
Pachamama, Ambwe Kendi, Ambwe Aira, Ambwe Pachamama, Wiracocha, Atun Songo, los guerreros, una y songo, Otorongo. Pachamama, Ambwe Kendi, Ambwe Aira, Ambwe Pachamama, Viracocha, Atun Songo, los guerreros, una y songo, Otorongo. Ambwe Sachamama, Ambwe Kendi, Ambwe Aira, Ambwe Pachamama, Viracocha, Atun Songo, los guerreros, una y songo, Otorongo.
Is everybody finished? Okay, let's do some hip opening, some quad stretches. And who has a wall or a couch in their space? Not that many people? Okay, well, let's just do it this way then. So let's start out by doing a regular old-fashioned runner's lunge. And then in your runner's lunge, we're going to keep the back knee down. We're going to unfurl the toes so your foot is pointed. We're going to shift the weight forward, which kind of makes my hips want to roll open. So instead of letting that happen, I'm going to push through the front foot, and that kind of forces me to go forward. And then I'm going to let gravity draw this hip down. You could keep the hands on the floor. You could bring the hands up. If you had blocks, that'd be my favorite option, right? A block under each hand. And I'm really pushing this front leg in as I'm letting the back leg sink down, right? So I'm pushing, 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 which kind of lifts me up, and I'm sinking, sinking, sinking so that this can open up. And then what happens? You've got to keep both of those actions. Then what happens if you lift the belly? Lift the pit of the abdomen, soften the ribs, just zipping up the belly, pushing. Maybe hug the legs in a little bit, which brings you out, and then sink back in. And you're kind of just making that little play, right, of rooting, rising, sinking. Now I'm bringing both hands inside, and I'm going to let the back leg lift up, and I'm trying to get onto the front side of my knee. So I'm not trying to stay on the pointy part of my knee. I'm trying to get onto the thigh. So I'm rolling into the thigh. I'm pointing my toes. I'm drawing the hips in, but you don't have to even reach back and grab it. Stomp, front foot in, draw, back heel to hip. Charlie horse in the hamstring, you know you're working. Yeah, rock on. And then we're going to release it. Shift hips back. You don't even have to go all the way back into a half splits. Just wiggle it out and then switch sides. I start in my runner's lunge. Kind of feel that stiffness, right, that you've created in the front hamstring. Point the back toe. Shifting forward. And then mashing, right? Mashing the front foot in. So that's what squares the hips, right? Mash the front foot into the floor. Let the hips square, then let gravity draw them down. Front body, even though it's lifting, you have to soften the front ribs. Look at the front foot while we're hanging out here. Are you on all four corners? Recoiling the arch back up into the ankle. You can lift the toes and spread them if you need to. Squeezing, squeezing. You find that little rooting to rise and then descend. Lifting the pit of the abdomen. This is one of those poses where it's like, if you never go there, then the front of the hip is never going to open up. You got to get there. You got to go to the edge. Okay. Or sticking with it a little longer, rooting the front foot into the floor, lifting the pit of the abdomen, letting the hips descend. The front foot is your kind of, the brakes, right? That's how you determine how much you're going. And then both hands inside, shifting. So you want to be on the front. Front of the knee, front thigh, belly of the thigh, even better. Drawing the toe in, stomping, front leg down into the ground, pointing the toes, drawing the heel in toward the hips. You feel it, a little Charlie horse maybe. You're working so hard. Feels good. And then we'll release. Let the hips wiggle back and you wag your tail. Coming back onto the hands and the knees. Now have my hands under the shoulders and my knees right underneath my hips. I'm going to take the left hand, thread it underneath, resting on left shoulder. Hips staying over the knees. I'm going to draw the right hip crease back. Mash my right hand into the floor like I'm doing a chaturanga. I'm doing a push-up. I'm going to push the floor away, opening up the chest. Big breaths into your belly, into the space behind your heart. Making that little window, right? Same as chair pose, side angle pose. Root both shins down into the floor, both of the tops of the feet down into the floor. And then we're going to press into the right hand to lift, switching sides. From hands and knees, the left hand is going to slide under. Right? No, right hand. Right hand, other side. Keep the hips square, hips stacked. Lift the pit of the belly. Stomping the left hand down like you're doing a push-up to open up the chest. Mashing both shins, both feet, the tops of the feet down into the floor. Big breaths, breathing into the belly, letting your lungs completely fill and empty. And then unraveling. Let's come to seated. I'm going to sit in Sukhasana with the shins crossed. My knees are on top of my feet. You can see shins crossed, knees on top of the feet. Right hand coming over to the left knee. Left hand behind the back. We're going to do something a little weird, right? We did this last week. We're going to take the left hand behind, and then we're going to lean back. And then I'm going to lift my belly, right? So I'm creating a little arch in my lower back. Big inhale, puff up the chest. Exhale, moving the left ribs back to twist. Plugging both shoulder blades down the back. So we're retracting them and depressing them. Lengthening the right kidney up towards the right shoulder. Letting the energy cross across the chest and then descend down the left shoulder, left arm. Now we're unraveling. Belly, heart, head, switching sides. Left hand to the right knee. Right hand comes behind your back. We're going to lean back. We're going to create a little arch in the lower back, puff up the chest. And then inhale, exhale, twisting. Right ribs move back. Retracting and depressing both shoulders. Looking back maybe. And then we unravel. Now, from cross-legged, just bring the soles of the feet to the floor, the knees are bent. And then take both feet over to the right. And you can have the foot, you can have one foot, one shin on top of the other, or you can have it in that Z sit like a cheerleader. And then let's take a big inhale, and we're gonna lengthen, wiggle. I'm even gonna tip forward and wiggle my booty into the floor so I can feel my sits bones, both of them. And maybe they don't stay, they're not gonna stay there for this version, so don't worry about that. But I'm gonna feel the length. And then we're twisting towards the left knee. So I'm gonna twist to look over at my left knee, and I'm gonna bring my hands to the floor. And then I'm gonna walk myself forward, and my right hip is gonna lift up, right sits bone's gonna lift up, and I'm just gonna lengthen from there. Letting the shoulders retract and depress. Chest is broad, belly is lifting. Maybe tucking the chin, letting the back of the neck get long. And I'm really leveraging with my hands here to twist. You can even walk further back if you want. You can walk it towards the space behind you, right? You could bring the forehead towards the floor. And then we unravel belly, chest, head. Send the legs to the other side. And I'm going to take the time, and I'm going to wiggle my hips in and wiggle my spine long. And it's important because we really need as much space between each vertebrae that we can get when we're twisting. Arms out to a T. And then we're going to turn to look over the left knee, bringing the hands to the floor, lengthening out, letting the hip lift off. So my whole sits bone and left hip is lifting up, and then I'm lengthening out. Leveraging against the floor with my hands to help pull myself longer. You can walk it back behind you even more. You can lower forehead towards the floor, just exploring. And then let's unravel belly, chest, head. Taking the legs out in front. And we're going to just make our way onto our stomachs. And then
Oh.
stomach, she's playing. From your stomach, come into Sphinx pose. So we're bringing the elbows underneath the shoulders, noting that you can take your elbows further out, right? Oh, less intense. Bring the elbows closer in, more intense. Once you plant the elbows, kind of forget about the shoulders for a second. Let's focus on the legs. I'm going to take the time to wiggle my hips from side to side, and I'm letting my thigh bones roll inward, right? So internally rotating, and that makes my heels kind of want to poke out to the side. Can you feel that? And then plant the thigh bones, point the toes, tops of the feet on the floor. You're going to lengthen from the groin down the inside of the leg, out of the big toe. See if you can feel what that feels like to lengthen. From the groin, down the inside of the leg, out of the big toe. And then mash the big toe into the floor, spread the tops of the feet, spread the toes, and push them all down. So we've got action in the legs. Now, we're going to push through the elbows. Push through the elbows. Lift the pit of the abdomen, and that kind of sends my tailbone towards my heels just a little bit. Not crazy to where the hip crease lifts off the floor, right? Your hip crease should be on the floor. And then tailbone is just a gentle reaching towards the heels so you don't feel that compression at the top of the sacrum. Once you're there, draw elbows back towards the hips. Get broader from collarbone to collarbone, from armpit to armpit. Let the neck lengthen down. It's like energy, rushing water, rushing down the sides of the neck, pooling in the shoulders, and then broadening out the shoulders. And if you can't feel it, you can't get that action in the shoulders, take your hands a little wider. Take your hands a little wider. Keep your elbows in. So it takes the bottoms of the shoulder blades, and it's kind of the bottoms of the shoulder blades are moving closer together, and the tops of the shoulder blades are moving further apart. And you could stay right there, just breathing, or you can plant the palms and lift the elbows. Right now, I've really got to engage my belly, lengthen the inner leg, root down through the big toe. So hip creases wiggled into the mat. Back body is engaged. And then let's release. And just resting. Forehead comes down. You can even wiggle your behind from side to side. And then bring the hands like a cobra pose. So the hands are right under the shoulders, elbows tucked in tightly. Bring your forehead to the floor so you're looking down. And then stretch the back of your neck long. Still lengthen the insides of the legs, mashing the big toe mounds down. A little tone in the hip crease. You're going to lift the nose, keeping the front ribs on the floor. Lengthen through the crown of the head, pulling back with your hands, like gripping the floor. Like your legs don't work anymore and you're just trying to crawl forward. Lengthening and then release. Now, you may have to watch me for a sec. You're going to take both hands and you're going to bring both hands underneath the hip bones. So do you know where your hips crease? That's where you're going to put your hands. So not up here, not on your thighs, like actually where the hips crease. You're going to put your hands right there, and then you're going to lay on your hands with the hands in the hip crease. We're going to do the next few poses like that, keeping the hands right there. So forehead on the floor, hands in the hip crease. Internally rotate the leg bones, lengthening the inner leg, rooting through the big toe mound. Lift the pit of the abdomen, pushing the hips down into your hands. Tailbone towards the heel, engaging the belly until you take the compression out of your lower back. Just hang out there. Breathing. Your head may be lifted, belly lifted, rooting hips into hands, lengthening the inner leg, not letting your feet curl up into some weird shape. Woo, and then release. Who knew that could be so much work? So we're going to do it all again. Forehead on the floor. Internally rotating the legs, lengthening the inner leg, mashing the big toe mounds of the feet down into the floor. Lift the pit of the abdomen, gently sending the tailbone towards the heels. Then, keeping the left foot on the floor, just lift the right toes up. Just lift the right leg, both hips, both hip creases mashing down into the hands, lengthening the inner leg, reaching like you're pointing with your big toe, like you could touch the wall behind you with your big toe. And then we'll switch, we'll bring the right leg down, keep it all, and lift the left. Same action. Lengthen the inner leg, pointing with the big toe, mashing the hips into the hands. Lengthen, lengthen, forehead down. And release. Keeping the hands where they are. Lengthen the inner leg, root the big toes in, lift the heart. Keeping the hands hips mashed into the hands, lengthening the inner line of the leg, big toes pressing, lift your chest higher, higher, and release. You can let the hands come out. We're coming back into our Sphinx pose. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. And then let's come into the Sphinx pose and find all that same alignment. And then let's do the half frog. So we're going to catch right foot in the right hand. I'm going to prop up on my left arm. Then I want to square both hips into the floor, drawing the foot in towards the hips. This pose has 2 stages. So this is stage 1. I'm bringing my heel in towards my hips. Stage 2, I'm pushing my hips down and lifting my knee. And we're breathing, and you're mashing the top of the other foot down into the floor, and release. Let's switch sides. So you have to readjust your alignment. Internally rotate, lengthen the inner leg, mash through the feet. Then we'll catch left foot in the left hand. Square the chest, lift the heart, draw heel into hip. Stage 1, heel into hip, heel into hip. Stage 2, hip into floor and lift the knee. And release. And then I'm on my elbows and I'm just going to windshield wiper my legs from side to side. You could come down off of the elbows. Maybe even lift your booty up a little. Windshield wiper. Oh, hi, Bee. And then let's roll over. Coming back up to seated. So we did a bunch of baby locusts, one-legged locusts. I don't know, I must have been brain dead when we ended last Sunday because I couldn't think of what a half locust pose or a baby locust pose was. And then after we got done, I was like, oh, that was crazy. So anyways, there's a bunch of examples of how you could do a baby locust and a half Ardha Shalabhasana, half locust pose. And yeah, so how does your back feel? Awake? We twisted, then we did baby back bends, right? Can you feel what it feels like to lift your knee in the frog pose? In the Bakasana, the last pose we just did?
That's a hard one.
It's really hard.
That was a really good cue with what was it? Hip down, knee up.
Oh, because then you can really feel. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
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 It's a really intense knee pose, and but if somebody is having knee, this is the pose that healed my knees when I hurt my knees skiing. Frog pose, and it was like I wanted to avoid all that hard flexion of my knee because I was scared. And then my yoga teacher kept saying, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and give me, I was practicing Ashtanga yoga then, and he was like giving me these intense adjustments, but that really is what broke up those fascial adhesions in my knee that was making it scary to bend the knee all the way. There's other ways to do it, and I want to just show you.
That one helped my tendonitis. Whenever I had tendonitis.
So it's, a lot of people can't even do frog pose, so they can't get to be able to do that to heal their knee so that they could then do frog pose, right? So you can work with these dowel rods and to open and create that same opening in the knee joint. See how these are different sizes? I would, at first I would start out with this little bitty one, which is kind of like the size of your broom handle, right? You could use your broom handle. You don't have to buy special equipment. And this one's a little bit bigger. So I would use this one, once this one was not sensational anymore. So the process is that you take this rod and you bring it right here, right into the crease, and then you sit back. And, if you have a lot of fascial adhesions, this is going to feel really intense, right? And you can work this. You want to do this in a passive way, right? As a yin style. So you're going to want to sit here for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. You're watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and you've got the gal rod or whatever you watch. I thought that would be funny. And then you'll just roll it back 1 inch, until you work your way back. The whole length of the calf. So you're just working it all the way back. You want to try to keep the heels together, legs together. I'm going in a speeded up version. Obviously, you don't want to go this fast. A lot of times the people that need to do this cannot sit like this with their weight back on their feet. Even if that's what's going to heal the knee, convincing someone to sit like this is terrifying, and they're just not going to do it. So your couch is the best thing you could use, right? You kneeling on the couch. I'm looking at imagine this is the back of my couch, and I'm looking at the back of the couch, and my feet are dangling off the edge where normally my knees would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I wiggle my thing in, and I hold on to the back, and I bring some weight back, and until I can eventually one day sit all the way back. But then I've still got the couch. I don't have to worry about Charlie horses in my feet or anything. Everything's soft and padded. So couch is a great tool. In yoga class, of course, people can't have a prop as a couch. So you could use your bolster, right? It's a little more precarious, but I can get on my bolster, safer for my knees, higher up, less pressure, so that you can practice that right in yoga class. So nothing beats this for knee pain. If you're having trouble, if you can't sit in malasana, right? You can't go into the squat or other things like that, then the dowel rod is a daily ritual that you should probably do. Mm-hmm.
Look, where can I get some rods?
Huh?
I gotta go find a broom.
No, Rhonda went and got hers. Yeah, so this is a great tool. And like I have a bunch of these, so I have enough. So if I wanted to, a lot of times I take my props. And so if I want to teach a class, I have a little bag that they fit in, and I just take all my little dowel rods with me, the same way you would do with tennis balls or something else. And if I had my own studio, I would just have a little bucket,
Where'd you get them things?
Home Depot.
Are you serious?
I just
you said hardware store, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
So, and they actually, you can buy them in lengths, but they're a little more expensive. If you get a long one and cut it, then they'll even cut them for you. But anyway, you'll figure that part out.
You get the long one, sometimes it's cheaper because
these.
Oh yeah.
What did you say, Rhonda?
sometimes they're cheaper if you get the long ones when they cut it, because the shorter ones they jack it up a little bit on price.
Yeah. If you cut them yourself, it is cheaper. And this rod is really good because I could do all kinds of stuff, right, with this. I can bring circulation if I'm wanting to do like a seated class and we need to bend, or if I've really, we've done that foot thing that gives you the Charlie horse, like then you can come in and you can use these just like a fascia blaster. It's the same thing. And brings circulation, reduces all, huh?
You could even like put one around the arch of your foot and use it as a mini bar and kind of push into it so people could find that static contraction.
Exactly. You could use it just like a strap. Once you have these, you'll think of a million things to do with them. But that's just a little extra side tip for the knees. Another thing I want to show you for the knees and for it, the strengthening of the quads and this connection. And it's not a yoga move, but you use it a lot in, if you're like doing the secondary series or something like that, they use this exercise a lot to strengthen. I want you to do it and feel it. So just come to kneeling. And if you're having a hard time being able to open up the hip crease, then this is your work, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to internally rotate, and I'm going to pick up the pit of the abdomen, and I'm fully extending the hip crease, making it in one straight line, and then I'm just leaning back. And you may 1 inch, you may how halfway, all the way, you're just hovering and holding, hovering and holding, staying open. You're like a ski slope, right? And you're not taking your shoulders back. You're keeping your spine straight line. It's not a back bend. It's like a plank. This bolster makes it look weird. Yeah. And then release. Can you feel the work there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right above the knees and the quads.
So that's really good to do for your back bending. I know it's kind of counterintuitive, but you need that strength of refinement in back bends. So 2 little extra things. Okay. What time is it? I might have used up all our time, huh?
8:52 here.
That's okay. I think thoughts about anything that we've done this evening?
When I was doing the bow pose stuff, both of my hamstrings was fabulous. So
They said we hadn't done this enough, Rhonda.
it's like, oh my God.
When you were doing the just how did all that stuff make you feel? Like, what did it feel like to do all those back bends progressively like that?
It's a lot of work. Wonderful.
A lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
A lot of work.
But it's good. Like, I liked being able to find the activations, like, and to notice how they kind of build off of each other. It's a good reminder.
Yeah. And what about, do you understand what I mean when I'm saying lengthen the inside of the leg? Do you feel that? Is that different?
Why is that so important, Courtney?
Why? Well, that is what is, when we were doing our bridge pose the other day, and I said, okay, you're going to take your pubic bone and your tailbone and you're going to reach them together towards the knee. So that's just the same cue, right, in a different shape. Now we're laying on our belly and our knees aren't bent, so we don't really have that same reference. But why it's so important is because those are the actions that are really lengthening, right, and creating that axial extension in the lumbar vertebrae, and reducing the compression there at the top of the sacrum and the ilium. Can you feel how, like, the difference when there's like all that compression, and you can feel kind of like every muscles and tissue crunching up against the bones of your pelvis, as opposed to when there's more space? It may feel like you're not doing as big of a back bend even.
Yeah, lifting up the belly really helps me, but also like it kind of like goes away really quickly. So like all those things, I get there and then I do something else, and then I'm like, oh crap, like I'm back to like that. So like that belly, especially how it's like back bending, it always like after a while it kind of like gets back, and I'm like, no sickening.
Yeah, I know. It is hard.
But it helps so much to not have that pinching in the back.
Yes. And when you're doing back bends, you're pulling your belly in and you're pulling it up, right? So it's like I'm pulling my belly in and then I'm pulling it up. And when I'm doing my back bends, so that I'm not, because if I'm just engaging my abdominals, I go this way, right? And that's not the way we're trying to go. We're going like this, so that the front body can open. And it's a different sensation.
Makes all the difference.
Yeah.
It does.
And you can really feel, oh, there I have the length.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like we keep trying to find the balance. Does that make sense? Like on the inhale, it feels like you're rising, and on the exhale, it kind of feels like you're grounding. Yeah. I think my
And
internet
between
connection is
how
bad
much
for some reason.
whether, like, have you ever noticed that, and this is really important in back bends, that the back, that maybe like you can lift your legs higher than your chest, or you can lift your chest higher than your legs. Like it's really hard to lift them equally the same height. And so that's what we're really like when we're trying to go like this in our back bend, right? Not just like, right? We're going out and then a little back bend. We don't even care if we back bend at all, right? We're just going long and then thinking about back bending, and maybe it looks like a back bend. That's not the point, right? That getting really long be.
I have a question. When we were doing the frog, the one like lotus or whatever it was, and so how would I prevent pain in that other side, like lower body? I know it's like crossing there, and that's because, and it's hurting because like my hip flexor is probably really tight, but like for
In the front of your hip or in your top of the sacrum?
and top of the sacrum on the other side.
Gotta push that other leg down into the ground more, right? That's the answer, because the more you're pushing the leg down, then the more space the sacrum, right? Then the more you're making space right there. And then the less effort that the leg is doing, then the more that sits bone and that side of the ilium is tipping up.
Because it's kind of weird because, you know, like you're bending the right and it hurts on the left, which is like flat. So I'm like confusing.
Yeah, so that straight leg, the grounded leg, is really the key. And that you're keeping that, because you don't have the same measure of both legs to lengthen both insides of the legs the same, because one of the legs is now lifted. So you've got to really feel into that straight leg and like you're really taking it back.
Yeah. Okay.
What about so I planned it that we did the moon salutes because the moon salutes is a back bending salutation, right? We are, you feel that every little crescent lunge, we do a back bend in it. So I chose that for that reason. Then we did some quad opening. Did you feel that little Charlie horse in your hamstring?
Oh,
Yeah. So you don't even have to hold your foot and pull it in, right? To get the benefits of those quad opening poses. You can do it just by the own action of the muscle. That's pretty cool. Then we did twisting, and the purpose of the twisting is because twisting makes space between the vertebrae, and we're wanting to back bend and lengthen. So we do twists to make the space, and then we do back bends to lengthen. And then after back bending, usually we are going to do our hip set, right? So that's hugging in and hugging out and hugging in and hugging out. And we really should have just done that because we don't have time to do another pose tonight. But I wanted you to see how you prep for back bends. And I wanted you to see how you can work locust pose in a way that's realistic, right? You don't have to be doing like a chin stand to be doing locust pose, right? We did a bunch of locust pose tonight, lifting one leg, lifting two legs, lifting the chest. And I love being able to do that hip work. We didn't talk about that, but with your hands under the hips, so that you can feel that rooting down. So just in lines of prepping the body for back bends. I thought maybe we would get a couple of our back bend poses done, but I was worried about us just like jumping into the big back bends. Okay, we haven't done anything all day, but we'll do it. We'll warm up some more tomorrow, and then we'll do back bending poses and and then we'll go, and then seated poses. So that's our agenda for tomorrow. And I put in the email, gather some stuff, even if it's just towels or blankets. Couch cushion makes a great bolster, so that you can try things out, because the seated poses, they're more closed poses. So they seem easier because you're sitting on the floor, right? I don't have to work as hard, but we know that's not how yoga poses work, right? The ones that seem really hard are the beginners, and the ones that, are more advanced seem easier because you're working the bandhas, right? The leverage of the pose. But that makes them way more, you have to be more flexible, you have to be stronger, and there's more danger there because they're closed, most of the time closed poses. We have a lot touching the floor and that we're leveraging against in seated poses. So propping is really important, and that's where one of the best ways, knowing how to prop. When you see stuff in people's bodies, you're like, oh, I can see this is tight, or that's lifting up, or this or this. Like, you being able to notice that stuff and then help them to learn how to prop themselves is one of your biggest jobs as a yoga teacher, right? Especially for these seated poses where we want to do them, you want to get into the twist, and you want to do the bind, and you want to be in lotus pose. So finding ways that really support your body. And we're doing a lot of stuff with the joints, right? We're making a lot of tight compression folds in our joints. So it's important that we test it all out, and how to prop, and the little tricks for how to get your calf muscle out of the way, or how to, just work the poses. So be ready for that. If you have something like a belt or a strap, or even a t-shirt, it doesn't have to be fancy. That stuff's going to really help us out for when we get into our seated poses.
I think this is great. The moon's about to come out.
Oh, good. Have I forgotten anything? I did go back in on the manual and correct the variations. Remember, we had the variations on the side angle pose. So those are corrected if you need to go back. And then also the flashcards for this weekend are on the page. They're already there, not like last weekend where there were, some of them that weren't there on the first day. So they're already there if you want to print them, or if you want to go ahead and start preparing your flashcards. We're going to make this flashcard, or if you didn't make the flashcards from last week, you could go ahead and get to work on your flashcards. I guess I took the flashcards from last week down, so hopefully I'll put them back up on our resources page. I didn't think of that. But we're getting a lot of stuff. It's like where to put all of this stuff to where you can find it. But the flashcards are there. If you want to get a head start, you can. The techniques manual is up there, so you can look over what we're going to do, or you can go back if there were things maybe you wanted to look at the side angle pose, the corrections I made, things like that. Any thoughts?
That was good. I'm excited. Me too.
Cool. So we'll start at 9 o'clock for y'all.
Sounds good.
10 for you, Anita.
I may be late. I may be late. I have another Zoom meeting in the morning.
Oh, okay. Well, if I don't see you, maybe you can text me your mama if I haven't admitted you when you get on, because I could be like, one pointed focus. I'm not good at multitasking.
Okay. I'll get away from that other one as soon as I can. It's supposed to last till 11, but I won't stay that long.
Okay. Well, we'll be in the midst of it.
Yeah.
Finishing up our backbending poses.
Now maybe I should wait till you finish. I don't want to come in cold and do back bends. That's for sure.
You can watch.
I could watch.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been fun. I hope that you're not too wound up. We didn't do anything too aggressive. I think you'll be able to sleep. And I'll see you in the morning.
Great.
Okay.
Y'all have a good night.
All right. Bye, Courtney. Thanks.